So what the heck am I talking about with all this Lydian chromatic nonsense? I'm going to tell you, but forewarning, it does presume a fair amount of music theory knowledge. The Western music universe traditionally centers and orbits around the harmonized major scale. It's the familiar musical color that we all know and love, and many famous melodies and chord progressions exist within its structures. From this vantage point, our one chord is Ionian, our sixth chord is the natural minor Aeolian, and our two chord is Dorian minor. And you can blanket all three of these chords, if they were in a progression, using the major scale, just playing horizontally across them as they change with just one scale. If you know this stuff, you're probably nodding like, yep, of course, John. So the vital aspect of George Russell's Lydian chromatic concept of tonal organization suggests that we change our relationship, and it actually makes the major 7 sharp 11 Lydian chord, normally derived from the 4th degree of the major scale, that becomes our new 1, or center of our harmonic universe. So our 1 chord becomes Lydian. Our minor 6 chord is actually the Dorian minor now. And then our 2 chord actually becomes a dominant 7. So Mixolydian vibes. It's a serious rule bend, and it benefits from having a prior understanding of how secondary dominants work. We'll do another lesson on that another time. And in the same way, you can blanket all 3 of these chords using Lydian, C Lydian here, and you're going to sound right. George Russell calls this playing horizontally, using one scale to cover a series of chords or even an entire song form. This is where things get interesting with the concept. What if we actually played a different scale from this new Lydian tonic that we have? What if we used one of the 7 principal vertical scales derived from the Lydian chromatic rainbow? Today, I'm going to tell you what they are first, and then we'll do another lesson on actually applying them to some musical situations and how I think about using the concept myself as an improviser and songwriter. So if you don't know, Lydian is a major scale with a raised 4th. And its chord tones do give us a major chord. But now let me introduce you to Lydian Augmented. So it's like a Lydian scale that has a raised 5th. And so it gives us an augmented major chord, root 3rd plus 5, major 7. And it's sort of got that augmented, we're in space coloration to it. Now, it might sound familiar to you because Lydian Augmented is actually one of the modes of the melodic minor scale. Next up, we have Lydian Diminished. Lydian Diminished is like a Lydian scale with a flatted 3rd. And chord quality-wise, it gives us a minor major 7. So root, flat 3, 5, major 7. It's that detective chord I often talk about. Now, I found this to be particularly interesting and haunting when I first discovered it. I really like using this sound. Next up we have Lydian Dominant, which I think of as a Mixolydian scale with a raised fourth. And if you've ever seen a jam band, the chances are that you've tasted some of this flavor. So it has your 7th chord flavor with the tritone. After that, we have another favorite, which George Russell calls the auxiliary augmented scale, but we know it as the whole tone scale. And it's all whole steps from wherever you started. So for C, it gives you sort of an augmented 7th flavor. Music of Debussy and Thelonious Monk and all sorts of great composers use the whole tone to really create a sense of mystery and unique dimension. Two more to go. George Russell calls this next one the auxiliary diminished scale, but we know it as whole half diminished. I always think of it as here's the first 4 notes of just a regular minor scale. 1, 2, flat 3, 4. And then we move up to the tritone and you do the same shape. Leaves you out here on a ledge, right? Half step away from your root again. So intervallically, we get 1, 2, flat 3, 4, sharp 4, sharp 5, natural 6, major 7, octave. So a lot of these scales sort of end with that climb from your 6th to your major 7 and your octave. Now this last one, auxiliary diminished blues, is another octatonic scale. So it's an 8-note scale. I like to think of it as a blues start with a major finish. So we minor major 7 chord, 1, 2, flat 3, 4, sharp 4, 5, natural 6, natural 7, and our octave. And like the Barry Harris diminished 6th concept, we only get 2 colors from it really if you do the arpeggiation. So we're dealing with diminished stuff, or inversions of the 5 chord over that. So we have G7 as a 5 to C. And it keeps going. So I hope you've enjoyed this little introduction to the 7 vertical scales of the Lydian chromatic concept. Next time we get together and talk about this, we'll work on using them over the different chords like that Dorian minor 6 and that Mixolydian dominant 2 we talked about, and check out all the different magical musical color we can coax from that. So take stock of your inventory and we'll get Lydian chromatic again soon. Take care.